Welcome back, folks, as the Brian Beatty Real Estate Show continues here on the Big Talker, 1250 WTMA and WTMA.com. I just like to take a little bit of time every show and just tell you how much I appreciate you listening to this program and relying on the information within it to help shape your understanding of our market here locally. I do like to take national data, regional data, apply that to us here in our, little corner of the world so that we've got realistic expectations so that we are a community of informed consumers that will not let the wool be pulled over our eyes in something as important as a real estate transaction. So that's the aim of this show. Thank you so much to those that reach out and either ask for guidance or, of course, hire us to help them with their real estate needs. We can help you buy, sell, invest, or rent out your property. And of course, we're always hiring, so if you have an interest in selling real estate, we'd love to hear from you as well. But if you ever want to reach out to us, maybe just to ask a simple question, maybe it's you need a contact for this, that, or the other, or of course you're thinking of buying or selling a home. Our number 843-800-0065, that's 843-800-0065, or go to listingsincharleston.com. That's listingsincharleston.com. So if you're just joining us, we've talked a lot about what's going on in the market right now. We've talked about the trends. We've talked about the fact that now the data supports that the market is in fact shifting. A lot of people are behaving as if this is a balanced market, maybe even behaving as though it's a buyer's market. I think they're trying to will that into existence, and then we're not quite there yet. But as a seller, that especially if you have sold a home, during COVID, then what I'm about to say is absolutely true, which is that you haven't had to do as much as you might have had to do in prior years to sell your house because of the overwhelming demand that was in the market. It's just been a little easier, which is a nice change of pace for a lot of people and frankly for agents too. I mean, I've been selling real estate for 17 years. And it's not fun having a conversation with a seller that sounds something like, I'm sorry, but you don't have any equity in your home. Let's talk about a short sale. Are you current on your payments? Are there any liens, judgments, encumbrances that affect title to the property? I mean, and you'd hope that they tell you the truth and that you not get down this rabbit hole of a transaction and find out that there's a bunch of stuff attached to this property or to the individual that we have to sort out. So anyways, I digress. We were talking about setting proper expectations with sellers in this changing market. And what's interesting about what's happening is that, yes, we are seeing a bit of a softening slowdown in the market. Again, grand scheme of things, that's healthy, but it's also coming at a time where seasonality starts to slow down. Seasonality affects our real estate market. And so we've got the slowdown happening there, plus the slowdown happening just overall, and it's going to feel to certain people like we're going at a snail's pace, especially in comparison. It's the example that I have given a few times on this program, and if you've heard it, then I apologize because I say it every other show, it seems. But it's the equivalent of having driven 90 miles an hour down the highway for the past 50 miles. It's just the speed of traffic, and everybody's doing it. And then all of a sudden, a cop pulls onto that highway, and you all have to drive 65, and you just feel like you're going at a snail's pace. That's kind of what's happening with this market. So if you're a seller, and we understand that, and we've, like I said in our last segment, you have taken the time to speak with the agent about what's happening in the market. You feel confident in their ability to articulate what's happening in the market so that they can advise you accordingly, and you find an agreement to work with that agent. Then it's time for you as the seller, with that agent's help, to put your best foot forward on day one. As this market shifts and multiple offers are subsiding, I think a lot of agents out there really need to ensure that their sellers understand the importance of making a good first impression. Before a house is listed on the market, sellers, I think, should be doing things like sprucing up their landscaping, It's amazing when you move out of a house, by the way, if you have not touched up your paint in several years, how dirty your house actually is. I mean, it's for anybody that's moved recently, they've probably had that same exact thought or feeling. Just like when a home is freshly painted, man, it really does pop. So, does your home actually need that fresh coat of paint, or is it good enough to just kind of wipe your hands of it and let the next buyer deal with that? We want to try and get it to the point where maybe we can do a few touch-ups, maybe bust out the magic eraser for some of the scuffs that might be on the wall, rather than having to repaint an entire house because that's costly. But we're also talking about things like decluttering, cleaning out closets, organizing, just generally speaking, getting the home ready for showings. The interesting thing is this. Over the course of at least the past 2 years, have sellers had to do that in order to sell their home? No, not really. I mean, there were buyers out there that were making multiple offers on homes where sometimes the sellers didn't even leave. I mean, there were just so many people going into their house all the time that, especially if they're working from home, like so many people are now, they're like, I can't derail my life for several days to have this be a consistent open house. I mean, I've got stuff to do. I've got a family. It makes sense. But just because you could sell your home without putting in that work doesn't necessarily mean that you sold it for the most money possible. And that's, I think, the point that I want to make. Is number one, we always want to put our best foot forward regardless of what kind of market we're in, because people will pay us more money. I mean, there's a direct translation to the buyer's interest and willingness to pay more for your property when there are other people involved. That's when emotion gets involved and logic gets a little cluttered, a little cloudy. If we let emotion run the show on the buyer side, then that's where people tend to, at times, overpay. That's what you as a seller want. But if you're going to put in minimal effort, then you're likely not going to get that kind of scenario. Marketing is all about urgency. And so, that first buyer showing might be the actual buyer. So the home has to look its best. And in today's market, I think each showing is really important, both from the perspective, buyer's standpoint, but also from the seller standpoint, in that if they're not interested, then we as agents should be providing our sellers with feedback so that we know what people are thinking. And we're looking for recurring messages there. There's a whole tangent I could go on, and I don't really have time for to keep up with the other content that I want to share, but there is such a lack of, I think, effort within the agent community as it relates to feedback. If somebody has taken the time to clean up their house and pack their kids and dog into a car and drive around or sit around for an hour to let a client of ours go in and look at the property, then I think it's only courteous that we, number one, say thank you, and number two, hey, here's what we thought. We either like it or we don't, and here's why. But that just doesn't happen. That's a pipe dream. I have a person that I have as an employee in my company, and one of the main things she does is just chase people. Chase them for feedback. And if you're an agent listening and you show one of our listings and you don't leave feedback, expect daily calls or texts from us. We're going to bug the you-know-what out of you until you give us what we want. And that's just kind of what we have to do. Which hopefully also shows those that are listening that there are agents out there that are passionate about customer service, and then there are those that are not. It is what it is. You get to choose your agent, which is the nice thing for you guys. And I think, speaking of that, you have to look for an agent that's going to provide you with some clear-eyed advice. I had an interview recently with a seller that did not take my pricing advice. That was their only sticking point. They had interviewed multiple real estate agents, and they flat out said they liked me the best, but they liked the price that another agent had given them the best. And this is, I don't want to get in trouble, but it's sleazy sales 101. Just offer them the highest price that you can get them to agree to. And when it doesn't sell for that, because basically everybody knows it's not going to, it's almost like there's an agreement going into it that, hey, we know it's not going to sell for this, but at least we'll feel good about trying. There's nothing different than a buyer making an offer 25% below your asking price and saying, I know they're not going to take this, but we might as well try. It's no different. It's just that, when you're a seller, your offense to that offer is more easily known than the offense the buyer feels for you asking the amount that you're asking for your house. Anyways, first and foremost, great couple. They're probably listening, and I think that they wanted to hire me, but we disagreed on the price and the strategy associated with that price. I think they started overthinking it, and I'm sure that everything will work out just fine for them. But when people hire me, I want them to trust me. I need for them to put their faith in my ability to represent them, which is why I'm not really the type of agent that's going to walk into your house and then just tell you everything that I think you want to hear. I'm there to provide you with my professional opinion of what it's going to take in order to sell this home and accomplish your goal. I'm going to ask you a lot of questions so that I really understand what we're trying to accomplish. And then I'm going to submit some proposals based on, your time frame and your motivation. So I think that agents, I think that a lot of agents out there are starving for business, quite honestly. They know that the market is shifting, and so when that happens, they feel as though they need to be a lot more flexible with what they do or what they say or what they agree to, just so that people will agree to work with them. And, desperation is a stinky cologne. We all have heard that saying. But I think you need to work with an agent that can give you clear-eyed advice, that speaks articulately, that really understands what they're doing, and is not going to be one of those agents with no backbone. And you can test those agents based on, something as simple as, what price do you think we should list our home for? They say 500. You're like, oh gosh, we really were hoping for 575, and they say, but you know what? Yeah, I was thinking 575. I'm glad that you said that. So, actually, let's try 5. What about 600? You start very clearly being able to determine what agents actually think and what they believe versus what they want you to hear, so that you'll sign on the dotted line and hire them. So when you're thinking of selling your home, if you value somebody that's a straight shooter, if you value somebody that really understands this market, I'd love the opportunity to earn your business. My number is 843-800-0065. 843-800-0065. Or you can go online. You can visit us online at listingsincharleston.com. That's listingsincharleston.com. Or you can send me an email, brian@brianbeattyteam.com. Stick around for the last few minutes of the Brian Beatty Real Estate Show. I'm going to give the buyers out there some advice that you can use to hopefully get yourself a better deal on a piece of real estate now that things have softened up a little bit. So stick around. We'll be right back.